I don't know how to describe them. They're aliens of a different sort.
The 20th of April 1999 will forever be locked in my mind as a seminal date. The date of the Columbine massacre. On this date, as I'm sure you know, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris launched a mostly failed bombing attack on a Colorado school, Columbine High, killing 12 students, 1 teacher, and themselves. How did a mild-mannered, nerdy kid who helped out on the tech side for school theatre productions and a doom-obsessed Rammstein nut come together to create one of America's most devastating tragedies? We may never know, but I hope to lay things out bare for you in this video. Before we begin, I must credit the 3 key sources that I couldn't have made this documentary without. A Columbine site, which has been running for over 20 years, was absolutely invaluable, especially for pictorial and audio sources. Columbine by Dave Cullen is a controversial source for many, but it is very useful for extrapolating certain details in the case. Of course, you must take Cullen's work with a pinch of salt, as it does contain inaccuracies. Finally, on the opposite end of the scale, the Columbine subreddit, which has an almost fetishistic attitude to accuracy. This film won't be perfect, and it might not be to your tastes, but I hope you can appreciate the work that has gone into this. I was the same age as the youngest victim, Stephen Kernow, when this terrible tragedy took place. It really left a mark on me back in 1999, and I hope this film goes some way into explaining why. The gates. Well, all you people out there can just kiss my ass and die. From now on, I don't give a fuck what almost any of you motherfuckers have to say, unless I respect you, which is highly unlikely. But for those of you who happen to know me and know that I respect you, may peace be with you, and don't be in my line of fire. For the rest of you, you will better fucking hide in your houses, because I'm coming for everyone soon, and I will be armed to the fucking teeth, and I will shoot to kill, and I will fucking kill everything. No, I am not crazy. Crazy is just a word. To me, it has no meaning. Everyone is different. But most of you fuckheads out there in society, going to your everyday fucking jobs and doing your everyday, routine, shitty things, I say fuck you and die. If you've got a problem with my thoughts, come tell me and I'll kill you, because god damn it, dead people don't argue. God damn it, I am pissed. It would be great if God removed all vaccines and warning labels from everything in the world and let natural selection take its course. All the fat, ugly, retarded, crippled, dumbass, stupid fuckheads in the world would die, and oh fucking wow if a few of the good guys died too. Maybe then the human race can actually be proud of itself. World War II is the last time I bet America was proud of itself. We beat the fuck out of the damn zipperheads and the Nazis. We came back from being bombed and losing major battles to nuke that little piece of shit island and to take over that cool place called Deutschland. I say it's cool because I love the German language and brute stuff. Kein Mitleid Need für die Mehrheit. Put everyone in Doom 1 and see who can get past at least level 1. Actually, then put them in my worlds, like Thrasher, Whiskey, UAC Labs and Tyr. I would love to see all you fuckheads die. NBK, I love it. Sometime in April, me and V will get revenge and we'll kick natural selection up a few notches. Armed with the following: a terrorist bag full of noisy crickets strapped to WD-40 cans, pipe bombs with a shitload of shrapnel, fire bombs, chlorine gas bombs and smoke bombs. Firearms we aren't sure of yet. Hopefully V will have his number 3 and plenty of ammo for it. That's another thing. I'll fuck around with some shotgun shells for more bombs also. For me, I don't know what weapon I'll have. I just want a firearm that can hold lots of bullets and that won't jam on me. So I'll need lots of clips too. I'll have those strapped onto my chest. Maybe a bulletproof vest too. We will be in all black dusters, black army pants, and we will get custom shirts that say R or V in the background in one big letter, and NBK in the front in a smaller font. We will have knives and blades and backup weaponry all over our bodies. I will have a tattoo of Reb on my right arm. Once we start, we will wear balaclavas. First, we will go to the house of in the morning before school starts, and before everyone is even awake. We go in, we silently kill each inhabitant and then pin down. Then take our sweet time pissing on them, spitting on them and just torturing the hell out of them. Once we are done, we set time bombs to burn the houses down and take any weaponry that we can find. Who knows, we may get lucky. Then get totally prepared, and during A-lunch we go in and park in our spots. With sunglasses on, we start carrying in all our bags of terrorism and anarchism shit into our table. Being very casual and silent about it. It's all for a science, band, English project or something. Then we sit down, play some pump-up music, light a $50 stogie and get ready to start throwing out the first wave of crickets. Then we light them and throw them as far as we can. Once the first wave starts to go off and the chaos begins, V opens fire and I start lobbing the firebombs. Then I open fire and V starts lobbing more crickets. Then, if we can, we go upstairs and go to each classroom we can and pick off fuckers at our will. If we still can, we will hijack some awesome car and drive off to the neighbourhood of our choice and start torching houses with Molotov cocktails. By that time, cops will be all over us, and we start to kill them too. We use bombs, firebombs, and anything we fucking can to kill and damage as much as we fucking can. If it comes to the time when we are trapped with absolutely no way out, we eat crickets along with a ton of chlorine or some other deadly gas. So when we die, so will anyone close to us. If we have figured out the art of time bombs beforehand, we will set hundreds of them around houses, roads, bridges, buildings, and gas stations. Anything that will cause damage and chaos. If you have ever seen the first few clips of violence in Invasion USA, you'll know what I'm talking about. It'll be like the LA riots, the Oklahoma bombing. These moments will be lost in the depressions and caverns of the human books forever, like tears in pain, but the thoughts will be eternal. To explain the happiness is impossible ever for fate. It's just a pure halcyon set to last more existences than a conceivable number. Stupid gay humans think I'm crazy, or they think I'm childish. Ha ha ha, because I can't solve sine to the power of 5, 2, x, s, s to the power of 3 times d times. That makes me dumb. Because I can't stay thinking in a second dimension, I go to the 5th, ha. So I wait 5 more days. 5 more days, 5 eternities. And I know he and I are conceived from ourselves and each other every night of the self-awareness journey. Every thought we conceived, we have finished the race, time to die. Everything we knew, we were able to understand it, to perceive it into what we should. Everything we knew, we know and use. An understanding of the everything. An Einstein stuck in an ant's body. We are the nature of existence. The zombies were a test to see if our love was genuine. We are in wait of our reward, each other. The zombies will never cause us pain anymore. The humanity was a test. I love you. Love. Time to die. Time to be free. Time to love.
I'll pay anything. Alright. $20 a day in school. You know we can't have weapons on school grounds. That's fine. I'll get him off the property. Alright. We'll protect you on school then. Take away any bullies that are picking on you, whatever. And off school grounds, we can relocate this person. That'd be $1,000. Thank you so much.
Piece of punk ass shit! Do not mess with that friggin' kid! If you do, I'll rip off your head! So far, I've up your freaking ass, you'll be coughing up dandruff for 4 freaking months! I don't care what you say. If you ever touch him again, I will freaking kill you. I'm gonna pull out a shotgun and blow your damn head off. Do you understand, you little worthless piece of crap?
What'd it do?
Look at the top of the thing. Lead pellets all around.
Little lead for everyone. Alright, I want to take out the tree.
Is
that all?
Try to hit the tree. I want to see what a slug does to the tree.
Yeah. Scoot back some. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh! That's a fucking slug!
I'll imagine that in someone's fucking brain.
And it hurt my wrist like a son of a bitch.
I bet so. See if we can
Look at that.
get out of there.
I got blood now.
Huh?
Oh, blood.
Man.
This one's gonna be a lot louder than the rest of these.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh god, this one's fucking awesome.
Holy shit.
These are the irons.
You guys see what I'm hitting at all?
No.
Behind the tree.
Yeah, take a look at that. That was my ghetto gun. Wait, you really gotta get into the habit of using this.
This finger. Fucking A. Where's it going?
I wasn't even watching.
We need to catch some shells.
It's hot?
Fuck.
What are you aiming for?
Hey, damn it! Okay.
That hurts. Hey, Mark, don't get too close to these sights, man. That scope comes back and nails you in the forehead.
Hey, you'll be messing up my scope, man.
Hey, dude, I
Can't
didn't know.
handle the kick, but put it down.
The humanity of here and now clouds all that I see. Yet the me, the one, can now control the pain, and it is done. 5 more days. 5. A very influential number, another brick in my journeyed wall. Humans are zombies. They search for acceptance and greed and kill themselves through each other. They will never learn. Or maybe they will, but won't have the strength to learn. To be aware is not a trait, it's a godlike thing. Blessed God, not a Christian, Jesus, Mount Sinai, Abraham, David, Bible, gay shit God, but a true controller of existence. Has to make us this way. Walk in, set bombs at 11:09 for 11:17. Leave. Drive to Clement Park, clear up. Get back by 11:15. Park cars, set car bombs for 11:18. Get out. Go to Suicide Hill. Wait. When first bombs go off, attack. Have fun.
What's your emergency?
Apparently there's been a shooting up here at the Columbine High School.
Okay. We've got people on the way. Do you have any more information?
No, I don't. I got about 26 here in my house. I live just south of it.
Okay, I want you to keep everybody right there, okay?
All right.
And if you can, if you don't mind, keep them inside.
All right.
Okay?
Will do.
Okay. County 911, what is your emergency?
I just called about gunshot.
Yes, ma'am.
It's at the school at Columbine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, we do have people on the way down there.
All right.
Okay. Can you still see those guys with those guns?
No, we ran down the neighborhood and we're at residence.
Okay, and what's your name, sir?
Jake. We just heard a bunch of gunfire, saw the explosions, and saw a bunch of kids run and hide behind the building.
One person was hiding behind the building?
And some people said they saw people falling down.
Okay.
After gunshot.
Okay, alrighty. If you can remember anything else, will you give me a call back? Otherwise, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you've got any friends with you, is just stay out of the area of danger and just stay where you are now, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Certification Sheriff's Office, do you have an emergency?
I think so, ma'am.
Can I help you?
I believe I just got a call from my brother who's a teacher at Columbine High School.
Yes, sir. We do have people down there.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you
Okay.
much. Bye.
Jefferson County Sheriff, do you have an emergency?
753. What's that?
Hello?
Is this 911?
What's the emergency?
I'm a assistant principal at Columbine High School. We have a student in our building with a gun that is...
We are on the way if we're
You
not
are?
there already.
Okay, we
Where are
appreciate
you
that.
at right now?
Well, we have all our kids over at Clement Park, and I'm standing on the fringe of Clement Park in the school.
Okay, do you know who it is that's in the school?
We looked over and we saw some guys peeking around the corner with guns, and we saw them shoot 3 people in the parking lot, and
That's when we knew it was real.
Yeah.
They saw the gunman throw grenades or pipe bombs on top of the school roof. A number of witnesses recognized the two as members of a group called the Trench Coat Mafia.
Yeah, they wear trench coats every day to school, and wear makeup and paint their nails and stuff. They're just I don't know, everyone kind of thinks of them as different, and they always just hang out with themselves only, kind of associate themselves with death and violence.
They always wear black clothing or dark clothing, glasses, berets. They get made fun of a lot.
Not a lot of kids like them.
Yeah.
They get made fun of a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, by other students sometimes.
11:30, the fire alarm was sounded. School teacher Paula Reed hustled her students out.
As I got outside the building, right outside the building, teachers and administrators were yelling to the kids, get them out of here, get them out of here, get them all the way to the park.
At first, she said there was no panic.
Kids started to run out of the gymnasium saying there's people in there with guns. But the general reaction from most of the people around me was, yeah, right. because there are no guns to speak of at Columbine. At least that's our perception of things.
Attention South units, have a report of what appears to be an explosion. It sounded like an explosion. Northbound on Wadsworth between Chatfield and Ken Carroll. The fire department's been advised.
47.
147.
Go ahead.
We have a female down in the south lot of Columbine High School. It's the south lower lot at the east end of the lot. I don't know if this is related to this explosion.
MC2, give me a minute and I'll check it.
MC2, okay, 147 MC2 is on scene.
At 11:22 a.m, a custodian called Deputy Neil Gardner, the assigned resource officer to Columbine, on the school radio requesting assistance in the senior parking lot. The only paved route took him around the school to the east and south on Pierce Street, where at 11:23 a.m. he heard on his police radio that a female was down and assumed that she'd been struck by a car. While exiting his patrol car in the senior lot at 11:24, he heard another call on the school radio. "Neil, there's a shooter in the school." Harris at the west entrance immediately turned and fired 10 shots from his carbine at Gardner, who was 60 yards away. As Harris reloaded his carbine, Gardner leant over the top of his car and fired 4 rounds at Harris from his service pistol. Harris ducked back behind the building, and Gardner momentarily believed that he had hit him. Harris then re-emerged and fired at least 4 more rounds at Gardner, which missed and struck 2 parked cars, before retreating into the building. No one was hit during the exchange of gunfire. Gardner reported on his police radio, "Shots in the building. I need someone in the south lot with me." By this point, Harris had shot 47 times and Klebold just 5. The shooters then entered the school through the west entrance, moving along the main north highway, throwing pipe bombs and shooting at anyone they encountered. Klebold shot Stephanie Munson in the ankle, but she was able to walk out of the school. The pair then shot out the windows to the east entrance of the school. After proceeding through the hall several times and shooting toward and missing any students they saw, they went toward the west entrance and turned into the library hallway. Meanwhile, art teacher Patty Nielsen was inside the school. She had noticed the commotion and walked towards the west entrance with student Brian Anderson. Nielsen had intended to walk outside to tell the 2 students knock it off, thinking they were either filming a video or pulling a student prank. As Anderson opened the first set of double doors, the gunman shot out the windows, injuring him with flying glass. Nielsen was hit in the shoulder with shrapnel. Anderson and Nielsen ran back down the hall into the library, and Nielsen alerted the students inside to the danger, telling them to get under their desks and keep silent. She dialed 911 and hid under the library's administrative counter. Anderson fell to the floor, bleeding from his injuries, then hid inside the magazine room adjacent to the library.
Jefferson County 911.
Yes, I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He has shot out a window. I believe one shot. I've been
Columbine High School.
I don't know what's in my shoulder. If it was just a last bead or what.
Okay, has anybody been injured, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the school is in a panic. And I'm in the library. I've got students down under the table, kids. Heads under the table. Kids are screaming. Some of the teachers are, trying to take control of things. We need police here.
Okay, we're getting them there.
Police here.
Who is the student, ma'am?
I do not know who the student is.
Okay.
I saw a student outside. I was in hall duty. Oh, God. Okay. I was on hall duty. I saw a gun. I said, "What's going on out there?" And he said, "Oh, it's probably for video production. It's probably a joke." I said, "Well, I don't think that's a good idea." And I went walking outside. I could see what was going on. He turned the gun straight at us and shot. And my God, the window went out. And the kid standing there with me.
Deputies Paul Smoker and Paul Magor, motorcycle patrolmen for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, were writing a traffic ticket north of the school when the female down call came in at 11:23. Taking the shortest route, they drove their motorcycles over grass between the athletic fields and headed towards the west entrance. When they saw deputies Scott Taborski, Rick Seal and Kevin Walker following them in their patrol car, they abandoned their motorcycles for the safety of the car. The 6 deputies had begun to rescue 2 wounded students near the ball fields when another gunfight broke out at 11:26 as Harris returned to the double doors and again began shooting at Deputy Gardner, who returned fire. From the hilltop, Deputy Smoker fired 3 rounds from his pistol at Harris, who again retreated into the building. As before, no one was hit. Inside the school cafeteria, Dave Sanders and 2 custodians, John Curtis and Jay Gallaty, initially told students to get under the tables, then successfully evacuated students up the staircase leading to the 2nd floor of the school. The stairs were located around the corner from the library hallway in the main south hallway. Sanders then tried to secure as much of the school as he could. By now, Harris and Klebold were inside the main hallway. Sanders and another student were down at the end of the hallway when he gestured for students in the library to stay. They encountered Harris and Klebold, who were approaching from the corner of the north hallway. Sanders and the student turned and ran in the opposite direction. Harris and Klebold shot at them both, with Harris hitting Sanders twice in the back and neck, hitting his teeth on exit but missing the student. The latter ran into a science classroom and warned everyone to hide. Klebold walked over towards Sanders, who had collapsed and tossed a pipe bomb, then returned to Harris up the library hallway. Sanders struggled towards the science area and a teacher took him into a classroom where 30 students were located. Due to his knowledge of first aid, student Aaron Hansey was brought to the classroom from another by teachers despite the unfolding commotion. With the assistance of a fellow student named Kevin Starkey and teacher Teresa Miller, Hansey administered first aid to Sanders for 3 hours, attempting to stem the blood loss using shirts from students in the room and showing him pictures from his wallet to keep him talking. Using a phone in the room, Miller and several students maintained contact with police outside the school. As the shooting unfolded, pipe bombs were tossed in the hallways and down into the cafeteria. Patty Nielsen in the library called 911, telling her story and urging students in the library to take cover beneath desks. According to transcripts, her call was received by a 911 operator at 11:25 a.m.
It looked like he was finding out shooting him. I said, what is that? I said, what's going on out there? They said, it's probably for video production. You know, they do these video productions. And the kids said, well, that's not, a play gun, a real gun. I was going out there to say no. And I went, oh my God, that was really close. That just rattled me. Okay. I'm really
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is
Patty?
He's yelling everybody get up right now. He's in the library. He's telling everybody get up right now.
Okay.
He's in the library. I have him in the library shooting at students to the lady that I have in the library on the phone.
Okay, try and keep as many people down as we can. Okay.
Because that's the kids getting killed.
52 students, 2 teachers and 2 librarians were inside. Harris fired his shotgun twice at a desk. Student Evan Todd had been standing near a pillar when the shooters entered the library and had just taken cover behind a copier. Todd was hit by wood splinters in the eye and lower back but was not seriously injured. He then hid behind the administrative counter. The gunman walked into the library towards the 2 rows of computers. Sitting at the north row was disabled student Kyle Velasquez. Klebold fired his shotgun, fatally hitting him in the head and back. They put down their ammunition-filled duffel bags at the south, or lower, row of computers and reloaded their weapons. They then walked between the computer rows toward the windows facing the outside staircase. Throughout the massacre in the library, they ordered everybody to get up, saying that the library was going to explode. They said how long they had been waiting for this and seemed to be enjoying themselves, shouting things like Yahoo after shooting. While ordering the jocks to stand up, one of the 2 said, "Anybody with a white hat or a sports emblem on it is dead." Wearing a white baseball cap at Columbine was a tradition amongst sports team members. Nobody stood up and several students tried to hide their white hats. Windows were shot out in the direction of the recently arrived police. Officers returned fire and the gunman retreated from the windows.
We walked out and we heard fireworks, and then we saw the guy with the gun, and I convinced myself that it was paintball, it was a senior prank. And he started spraying the ground in front of us, and you could kind of hear it and see it. And Dan went down, and I felt like a sharp pain in my foot. And then seconds later, maybe at the same time, my knee felt like it went out. And then this knee got hurt, and then it felt like somebody punched me in the chest. So he shot me 4 times, and I blacked out, and then woke up sensing that somebody was behind me, and I could see their shadow. And I put my hand up to ask for help. Just figured it was paintball, it hit a nerve, whatever. And he said, "Sure, I'll help you." And I looked up a little bit, and he didn't grab my hand. And so I just laid back down, and he put the shotgun right behind my ear and pulled the trigger. So I'm clearly in shock. I mean, I've almost completely bled out. The shot in my leg severed my femoral artery. And so I kind of hear chaos, and I wake up again, and I see somebody run past me. And they go and check on Dan, and Dan had died at that time. And I'm thinking to myself, the last time I asked for help, nobody helped me. Well, screw it, I'll do it again. So I put up my hand, and it was Monty Fleming, paramedic, and he just picked me up, and I kept telling him, put me down, I'm fine. And he was running and carrying me and just hucked me in the back of the ambulance. It was somewhere around 35 surgeries, I think, maybe a few more or less, I don't know. But now, I mean, physically I'm fine.
It was the one day of the whole school year that I actually stayed at the school for lunch. Usually I had driven home to my parents' house where my mom had lunch ready for me. But that day I made my way to the library and was just reading a magazine when just a few minutes later the teacher came running in telling us that there was a boy outside with a gun, and it all happened so fast.
Tell me about the moment right before the shooting.
Right before I was shot, I turned around to see him about 5 feet behind me, pointing the gun at the boy who was hiding behind me. He was not so fortunate to survive, and then it was my turn. And he shot me, started yelling at me, and I really needed him to think he could move on from me, so I quit breathing and played dead until he went on his way.
I was reading an article and you were saying something about an angel being there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like I felt a hand on my back, and I had turned around actually to look who could possibly be hiding with me, and there was nobody there. But right when I felt the hand, there was just a blanket of peace that came over me, knowing I was going to be shot, and I really think that it saved my life.
With this many years ago, is this something that crosses your mind?
Every day.
Every day?
Yes. Sending my own kids to school is very hard, and every day I drop them off, I just pray I get to pick them up. Yeah. And that sounds heavy, but it's my reality, thinking that I'm putting them in a situation that I was in that was so horrible.
During my lunch period, I went to the school library to study for a test. I heard these popping noises coming from outside the school. They started to get louder. And then this teacher ran into the room. She was completely frantic. She ran over to the phone to call the police, and while she was on the phone, she kept yelling at all of us to hide and get underneath the tables. So I got underneath the table with my friend Matt. My friend Isaiah was walking by. I called out his name and he came over and sat next to me. I realized at that point that something serious was happening. The library was the first room the shooters came into. They were shooting off their guns immediately. They were mocking students before they shot or killed them, and they treated it like it was a game. They came over to where I was, and they shot and killed Isaiah, and then they shot and killed Matt. At some point, I had just decided to lie down and pretend to be dead. I was feeling so much fear, I thought I was going to die. I literally felt like my heart was going to stop beating. A couple minutes went by and I felt like I heard a very strong inner voice speak and just said to get out of there. I saw the shooters had left. So I yelled at everyone, come on, let's get out of here. And then we were running out of the room and I was so thankful to be alive. But at the same time, I actually felt really bad because I left my friends underneath that table.
I heard people pray for their husbands, their children, you name it. And at that point, these guys were killing just to kill.
Senior Nick Foss witnessed the horror before he managed to escape.
I've never seen so many dead people in my life, and some of my friends did. You know, I've never seen someone's face shot off in front of me. It's just not cool, not pretty. I can't get out of my head.
Some of the worst carnage was in the library.
There was a guy at a table right next to us, next to me and her, and they just shot him and then walked away, and then he was just sitting there in a pool of blood.
We all got under the desk and then they just started coming in the library and opening fire and shooting off bombs.
Hi, this is Jeffco. Yes. We need an ambulance and fire department to respond, and we need to have them staged before we get on scene to Columbine High School. We report of shots fired. Yeah, we've already gotten that call. Okay, all right. And this is Jefferson County? Right. Somebody already called Littleton on the shots fired.
Klebold removed his trench coat. He then fired his shotgun at a nearby table, injuring 3 students, Patrick Ireland, Daniel Steepleton and McKay Hall. Harris walked towards the lower row of computer desks with a shotgun and fired a single shot under the first desk while down on one knee. He hit 14-year-old Stephen Cornell with a mortal wound to the neck. He then moved to the adjacent computer desk, injuring 17-year-old Casey Roossager with a shot which passed completely through her right shoulder, also grazing her neck and severing a major artery. When she started gasping in pain, Harris said, "Quit your bitching." Harris then walked to a table south of the lower computer table, with 2 students underneath, Cassie Bernal and Emily Wyant. Harris slapped the surface of the table twice as he knelt and said, "Peekaboo," before shooting Bernal once in the head with a shotgun, killing her.
Emily Wyant was a survivor from the Columbine tragedy. She was under the table with Cassie Bernal when she was shot in the head. According to Dave Cullen's account of the entire incident, Columbine, Emily Wyant watched in disbelief as the story mushroomed. Emily had been under the table with Cassie. They were facing each other. Emily was looking into Cassie's eyes when Eric fired his shotgun. She knew exactly what had happened. She was supposed to be in science class when the shooting happened, but they had a test scheduled, and because she missed class the day before, she wasn't ready. Her teacher sent her down to the library to look over her notes. She pulled up a seat by the window at a table with just one girl, Cassie Bernal, who was studying Macbeth. They heard some commotion outside and some kids came to the window to check it out, but it dissipated. Emily stood up for a look, saw a kid running across the soccer field and sat down, returning to her notes. A few minutes later, Patty Nielsen ran in screaming and ordered everyone to get down. Cassie and Emily got under the table and tried to barricade themselves in by pulling some chairs around their tiny perimeter. That made them feel a little safer. Cassie crouched by the window side of the table looking in toward the room, and Emily got down at the other end, facing Cassie 2 feet away. They could keep in contact with each other that way and collectively maintain a view of the whole room. The chairs created a lot of blind spots, but the girls were not about to move them. That was the only protection they had. Emily heard shots coming from down the hallway, one at a time, not in bursts. They were getting closer. The doors opened. She heard them come in. They were shooting, talking back and forth and shouting stuff like, "Who wants to be killed next?" Emily looked over her shoulder to watch. She saw a kid near the counter jump or go down. The killers walked around a lot, taunting and shooting, and Emily got a good look at them. She had never noticed them before. She was a sophomore, but was sure she could pick them out again if she ever saw them again. The girls whispered back and forth, dear God, why is this happening?" Cassie asked. "I just want to go home." "I know," Emily answered. "We all want to get out of here." Between exchanges, Cassie prayed very quietly. Eric and Dylan passed by several times, but Emily never expected one of them to come under the table and shoot. Eric stopped at their table, at Cassie's end. Emily could see his legs and his boots pointing directly at the right side of Cassie's face. Cassie didn't turn. Emily didn't have to. She was facing perpendicular to Eric's stance, so she could look straight at Cassie and see Eric just to her left at the same time. Eric slammed his hand down on the table and then squatted halfway down for a look. "Peekaboo," he said. Eric poked his shotgun under the table rim as he came down. He didn't pause long or even stoop down far enough for Emily to see his face. She saw the sawed-off gun barrel. The opening was huge. She looked into Cassie's brown eyes. Cassie was still praying. There was no time for words between them. Eric shot Cassie in the head. Everything was muffled then. The blast was so loud it temporarily blew out most of Emily's hearing. The fire alarm had been unbearably loud, but now she could barely hear it. She could see the light flashing out in the hallway. Eric's legs turned. Bree Pasquale was sitting there, right out in the open a few steps away, beside the next table over. It had been jammed with kids when she got there. She couldn't fit, so she sat down next to it on the floor. Bree was a bit farther from Cassie than Emily, the next closest person, but she had a wider view. She had also seen Eric walk up with a shotgun in his right hand, slap Cassie's tabletop twice with his left, and say, "Peekaboo." He squatted down, balancing on the balls of his feet, still holding on to the tabletop with his free hand. Cassie looked desperate, holding her hands up against the sides of her face. Eric poked the shotgun under and fired. Not a word. Eric was sloppy with that shot, a one-hander, in an awkward half-squat. The shotgun kicked back and the butt nailed him in the face. He broke his nose sometime during the attack, and that's the moment investigators believe it happened. Eric had his back to Bree, so she couldn't see the gun hit his nose, but she watched him yank back on the pump handle and eject a red shell casing. It dropped to the floor. She looked under the table. Cassie was down, blood soaking into the shoulder of her light green shirt. Emily appeared unhurt.
There's a chopper in the area, 149?
Oh, can we see if we can get one up here? Either ours or Denver. Somebody see it already on the roof. Make sure he's not setting up for a sniper.
Okay, stand by.
Multiple fire coming south from the southeast side.
Shots fired from the southeast side, 1152.
I could be at Columbine.
7 to 1152.
After fatally shooting Bernal, Harris turned towards the next table where Brig Pasquale sat next to the table rather than under it. Harris's nose was bleeding. Witnesses later reported that he had blood around his mouth. Klebold noticed Ireland trying to provide aid to Hall, who had suffered a wound to his knee. As Ireland tried to help Hall, his head rose above the table. Klebold shot him a second time, hitting him twice in the head and once in the foot. Ireland was knocked unconscious but survived. Klebold then walked towards another table where he discovered 18-year-old Isaiah Scholes, 16-year-old Matthew Kester, and 16-year-old Craig Scott, Rachel's younger brother. Hiding underneath, Klebold called out to Harris that he had found and tried to pull Scholes out from under the table. Harris left Pasquale and joined him. According to witnesses, they taunted Scholes for a few seconds, making derogatory racial comments. The gunmen both fired under the table. Harris shot Scholes once in the chest, killing him, and Klebold shot and killed Kester. Meanwhile, Scott was uninjured, lying in the blood of his friends, feigning death. Harris then yelled, "Who's ready to die next?" He turned and threw a cricket at the table where Hall, Steepleton and Ireland were located. It landed on Steepleton's thigh. Hall quickly noticed it and tossed it behind them, and it exploded in mid-air. Harris walked towards the bookcases between the west and centre section of tables in the library. He jumped on one and shook it, apparently attempting to topple it, then shot at the books which had fallen. Klebold walked to the east area of the library. Harris walked from the bookcase, past the central area to meet Klebold. The latter shot at a display case next to the door, then turned and shot towards the closest table, hitting and injuring 17-year-old Mark Kington in the head and shoulder. He then turned toward the table to his left and fired, injuring 18-year-olds Lisa Kreutz, Lauren Townsend and Verlene Schnurr with the same shotgun blast. Klebold then moved towards the same table and fired several shots with the Tech-9, killing Townsend. At this point, the seriously injured Verlene Schnurr begins screaming, "Oh my God, oh my God." In response, Klebold asked Schnurr if she did believe in the existence of God. When Schnurr replied she did, Klebold asked why and commented God is gay. Klebold reloaded but walked away from the table. Harris approached another table where two girls were hiding. He bent down to look at them and dismissed them as pathetic. Harris then moved to another table where he fired twice, injuring 16-year-olds Nicole Nowlin and John Tomlin. Tomlin moved out from under the table. Klebold shot him repeatedly, killing him. Harris then walked back over to the other side of the table where Townsend lay dead. Behind the table, a 16-year-old girl named Kelly Fleming had, like Brie Pasquale, sat next to the table rather than beneath it due to a lack of space. Harris shot Fleming with a shotgun, hitting her in the back and killing her. He shot at the table behind Fleming, hitting Townsend, who was already dead, Kreutz again, and wounding 18-year-old Jenna Park. The shooters moved to the centre of the library where they reloaded their weapons at a table. Harris then pointed his carbine under a table, but the student he was aiming at moved out of the way. Harris turned his gun back on the student and told him to identify himself. It was John Savage, an acquaintance of Klebold's. He asked Klebold what they were doing, to which he shrugged and answered, "Oh, just killing people." Savage asked if they were going to kill him. Possibly because of a fire alarm, Klebold said, "What?" Savage asked again whether they were going to kill him. Klebold said no and told him to run. Savage fled, escaping through the library's main entrance. After Savage left, Harris turned and fired his carbine at the table directly north of where he had been, hitting the ear and hand of 15-year-old Daniel Mauser. Mauser reacted by either shoving a chair at Harris or grabbing at his leg. Harris fired again and hit Mauser in the centre of the face at close range, killing him. Both shooters moved south and fired randomly under another table, critically injuring Jennifer Doyle and Austin Eubanks and fatally wounding 17-year-old Corey DePuta at 11:35. There were no further victims. They had killed 10 people in the library and wounded 12. Klebold joined Harris at the library entrance. The two walked out of the library at 11:36. Cautiously fearing the shooter's return, 10 injured and 29 uninjured survivors began to evacuate the library through the north emergency exit door, which led to the sidewalk adjacent to the west entrance. Casey Rusager was evacuated from the library by Craig Scott. Had she not have been evacuated at this point, she would likely have bled to death from her injuries. Patrick Ireland, unconscious, and Lisa Kreutz, unable to move, remained in the building. Patty Nielsen crawled into the exterior break room into which Klebold had fired shots and hid in a cupboard. At 11:56, they returned to the cafeteria and briefly entered the school kitchen.
There are a number of myths associated with Columbine, some of which have legs, but most of which exaggerate half an issue or make it up entirely. The boys being affiliated with goths, the boys targeting jocks in their shootings, the boys being outcasts, although this is clearly untrue since a lot of the photos of them show them socialising with other teens of their ages. Myths of a third shooter were also prevalent, as was their involvement in the so-called trenchcoat mafia. But like I say, these myths are rooted ultimately in some half-truths. There's absolutely no evidence that bullying led to murder, but there is considerable evidence it was a problem at Columbine High. Frank De Angelis, the school principal, took a lot of flack for bullying, particularly since he insisted he was unaware it had gone on. I'm telling you, as long as I've been an administrator here, if I'm aware of a situation, then I deal with that situation, he said. And I believe our teachers, and I believe our coaches, and I turn my own son in. I believe that strongly in rules. That may have been part of his downfall. Mr. D, as he was popularly known, did believe that strongly in the rules. He held his staff to the same standard and seemed to believe they would meet it. His unusual rapport with the kids also created a blind spot. It was all smiles when Mr. D strode down the corridor. They sincerely warmed at the sight of him, and he sought to please them as well. Sometimes he mistook that joy for pervasive bliss in his high school. Personal affinities also obscured the problem. Mr. D knew he was drawn to sports. He worked hard to offset that by attending debate tournaments, drama tryouts and art shows. He conferred regularly with the student senate. But those were all success stories. Mr. D balanced athletics and academics better than overachievers and unders. I don't think he had a preference on purpose, a pierced-out girl in a buzz cut and red tartan boot set. He's got a lot of school spirit, and I think he aims it in the direction he's most comfortable with, like school sports and student congress. She saw Mr. D as a sincere man, making a tremendous effort to interact with students, unaware that his natural inclination toward happy, energetic students created a blind spot for the outsiders. My goth friends hated the school, she said.
They returned up the staircase and into the south hallway at 12 p.m. They re-entered the library, which was empty of survivors except for the unconscious Patrick Ireland and the injured Lisa Kreutz.
As stated earlier, bullying was clearly something of an issue at Columbine, but the jury's still out as to whether or not Dylan and Eric experienced this acutely themselves. What follows is some evidence taken from Rita Gleason's book, Evidence Ignored, What You May Not Know About Columbine. It details the various different accounts of bullying referenced in both Dylan and Eric's notebooks. I'm going to read out some of the evidence now and leave it up to you to make your own minds up. Were they bullied or weren't they? Eric and Dylan were both picked on by jocks during their bowling classes because the jocks thought they could play the game better. It did not help that both boys bowled unusually, with Dylan tossing his ball like a softball and Eric throwing his like a basketball. A student in Dylan's gym class said Dylan wasn't very coordinated and that everybody made fun of him in class. They even called him Stretch because he was so tall. Another classmate said students would refer to Dylan as the Jolly Green Giant. Quote, "The arsehole in gym class, how he worries me, Dylan Klebold." Jordan Grimm, a student who categorised himself as a jock prep, stated that he would make fun of Dylan every time he saw him wearing his trench coat in the cafeteria. Ryan Wilder stated that he and Dylan once got into an argument about Dylan's AOL shirt after he asked him what it meant because he wore it almost every day. Dylan told him it had to do with programming and an IM group called Punters and Progs. Ryan was on Dylan's hit list.
Once inside at 12:02, police were shot at again through the library windows and returned fire. Nobody was injured in the exchange.
Brett O'Neill said Dylan was sort of the brunt of the jokes. He said they wouldn't make fun of him openly, but Dylan may have been aware of it. According to Eric, a group of boys once shot up Dylan's bicycle. Daniel Danford stated that Dylan once told her that the jocks were giving him trouble but didn't elaborate any further. Devon Adams stated that she was pushed into the locker by a jock and called a fag lover for talking to Dylan. According to Brooks Brown, he, Eric and Dylan were outside school smoking cigarettes when jocks drove past them and threw a glass bottle that shattered near Dylan's feet. Brooks was pissed, but Eric and Dylan didn't even flinch. Dylan said it happened all the time. Nathan Vanderau reported that Eric and Dylan were constantly picked on. Vanderau noted that a cup of fecal matter was thrown at them. Eric and Dylan had been the victims of a particularly humiliating incident in which they were surrounded in the cafeteria by other students who squirted them with ketchup, laughed at them and called them faggots. Teachers were present at the time but did nothing to intervene. Sue Klebold said Dylan came home from school with spots of ketchup all over his shirt. When she asked him what happened, he said he had the worst day of his life and didn't want to talk about it. According to Robert Perry, Eric had been constantly picked on, taunted, and had food thrown at him by some of the other students. During sophomore year, someone named Ryan was friends with Eric. Ryan said he would sometimes join in on any teasing against Eric. One student said he spent the most of his time in gym class teasing Eric because he had a big head on a very skinny body. Another student said he had been relentless in his abuse of Eric during gym class and that the entire class ridiculed Eric for not being good at sports. Another student in Eric's gym class said that after Eric won a dodgeball game, some jocks ganged up on him during the second game and hit him in the face with balls. After gym, they pushed him into lockers. Eric had a slight chest deformity. It wasn't that noticeable, it was just sunken in a bit. But when Eric would take his shirt off in PE class, the bullies were ready and waiting to mock him. Brooks Brown. A student said it was routine for jocks to line up across the hall, one next to the other, forcing students to have to go all the way down another hallway to get around them. This video suggests Eric did not want to give in to their intimidation. Dylan was more likely to ignore the bullying, but Eric tried to stand up for himself on several occasions. Eric once challenged a wrestler who was known for harassing the TCM to a fight in the school parking lot. It was called off because the other boy brought friends for backup.
By 12:05, all gunfire from the school had ceased.
Dan Labb punched Eric in the face, which resulted in him ending up on Eric's hit list. Dan wanted off the list. Eric agreed to take him off if he could punch him in the face, and if he showed respect to Eric and Dylan and never made another smart-ass remark about them. Eric once told a bully, "Every day you pass me and make fun of me saying Rammstein sucks. And why do you do this crap, arsehole? What did I do to you?" The student sarcastically replied, "Oh man, you're so cool, you're my idol." Dylan approached them, seeming to back up his friend. In March of 1999, Eric was observed walking down the hallway with several students following him and taunting him, saying, "The war is over, you can go home." Eric yelled, "Shut up, arseholes." According to Dustin Harrison, Eric and Dylan would both get picked on during their classes, and the teacher did not care or do anything to stop it. Chris Morris said Eric was constantly picked on by the jocks because he was small, and that Eric was depressed as a result of this. After Dylan got in trouble for scratching a locker, he paced the dean's office and started to cuss. According to the dean, he was very upset with the school system and the way CHS handled people, including the people that picked on him and others. Dylan often slept in his calculus class. When this happened, the teacher would yell at him and embarrass him. Before the massacre, a teacher's aide believed bullying was a serious problem at Columbine and raised the issue of bullying at a faculty meeting, but nobody acted on her complaint. Eric and Dylan's manager at Blackjack said the boys would gripe about how they did not feel they were being treated fairly and were unjustly persecuted at school. "Everyone is always making fun of me because of how I look, how fucking weak I am, and shit, well, I will get you all back. Ultimate fucking revenge here. You people could have shown more respect, treated me better, asked for my knowledge or guidance more, treated me more like a senior, and maybe I wouldn't have been so ready to tear your fucking heads off." Eric Harris. "People make fun of me, constantly. Therefore I get no respect, and therefore I get fucking pissed." Eric Harris. "If people would give me more compliments, all of this might still be avoidable. But probably not. Whatever I do, people make fun of me, and sometimes directly to my face. I'll get revenge soon enough. Fuckers shouldn't have ripped on me so much, huh?" Eric Harris. "I hate you people for leaving me out of so many fun things. And no, don't fucking say, well, that's your fault, because it isn't. You people had my phone number, and I asked and all, but no. Don't let the weird-looking Eric kid come along. Oh, fucking no." Eric Harris.
By 12:08, both gunmen had killed themselves. Harris sat down with his back to a bookshelf and fired a shotgun through the roof of his mouth. Klebold went down on his knees and shot himself in the left temple with his Tech 9. An article by the Rocky Mountain News stated that Patty Nielsen overheard them shout 1, 2, 3 in unison, just before a loud boom. However, Nielsen claimed that she had never spoken with either of the writers of the article. In 2002, the National Enquirer published 2 post-mortem photos of Harris and Klebold in the library. They're shown here, censored. Klebold's gun was underneath his body and so unseen in the photo, leading to some speculation that Harris shot Klebold before killing himself. However, some of Klebold's blood was on Harris's legs. Also, just before shooting himself, Klebold lit a Molotov cocktail on a nearby table, underneath which Patrick Ireland was laying, which caused the tabletop to momentarily catch fire. Underneath the scorched film of material was a piece of Harris's brain matter, suggesting Harris had shot himself by this point.
April 21st, 1999. Bomb squads thoroughly searched Columbine High School for explosives. By 8:30 a.m, the official death toll was released. 15 dead. The bomb squad declared the building safe for officials to enter, and at 11:30 a.m, a sheriff spokesman told anxious news crews and their viewing audience the investigation is underway. 13 bodies were still in the school when investigators began photographing the school building. April 23rd, 1999. John Tomlin's funeral was held in his hometown of Waterford, Wisconsin, in St. Peter's Cemetery. April 24th, 1999. Rachel Scott's funeral was broadcast by CNN and became the most watched event in CNN's history. April 25th, 1999. Funerals for Kelly Fleming and Daniel Mauser were held together at the St. Francis Cabrini Catholic Church. An official memorial was held at West Bowles Shopping Centre with Vice President Al Gore, Governor Bill Owens, Principal Frank DeAngelis, artists Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith. It was attended by 70,000 people. April 26, 1999. Funerals were held for Cassie Bernal, William Dave Sanders and Lauren Townsend. Officials learned that 3 of the 4 guns used in the massacre at Columbine were bought by Dylan's friend, Robin Anderson, shortly after her 18th birthday. April 27th, 1999. Kyle Velasquez's funeral, Matt Ketchter's funeral. April 29th, 1999. Isaiah Scholes' funeral. May 3rd, 1999. Columbine students returned to school, attending Chatfield High School. The school day was divided. Chatfield students used the school in the morning, Columbine students used the school in the afternoon. Mark E. Maines, 22, surrendered to Jefferson County authorities on felony charges of selling a handgun to a minor. He admitted to selling the Tech DC-9 to the Columbine shooters. June 3rd, 1999. Renovations began on Columbine High so classes could resume in August. Most of the work was done by volunteers. June 4th, 1999. Robin Anderson admitted to buying the 2 shotguns and the 9mm carbine rifle from a Denver gun show in November 1998. June 16th, 1999. Authorities announced that the surveillance videotape recorded from Columbine High's cafeteria on April 20th discredited the rumour of a 3rd gunman. Only 2 appeared on the tape, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. June 17th, 1999. Prosecutors filed charges against Philip Joseph Duran, 22. He was charged with unlawfully providing a handgun to minors. Philip worked at Blackjack Pizza alongside Dylan and Eric and introduced them to Mark Maines. August 16th, 1999. Columbine High School, newly remodelled, reopened its doors 4 months after the shootings. 2,000 students showed up for class, shielded from the media by a long line of parents and teachers who lined the sidewalk that led to the school. Students attended a Take Back the School rally before classes began. After the rally, the American flag that had stood at half-mast since the shootings was raised and school started. August 18th, 1999. Mark Maines, who sold the Tech DC-9 to the shooters, pleaded guilty to providing a handgun to a minor and illegal possession of a sawed-off shotgun. August 20th, 1999. Richard Castaldo was released from Craig Hospital to go home. He was the last of the survivors to leave the hospital. September 24th, 1999. Jefferson County Sheriff spokesman Steve Davis said it was unlikely that Cassie Bernal was ever asked by the gunmen whether she believed in God before they shot her. This announcement came shortly after Misty Bernal, Cassie's mother, published the book She Said Yes, The Unlikely Martyrdom of Cassie Bernal. Patrick Ireland was named Homecoming King of Columbine High School. September 26, 1999. Parents and friends of victims Daniel Rawborough and Kyle Velasquez marched to Littleton's West Bowles Community Church to chop down 2 of 15 trees the church planted to acknowledge the pain that all of the affected families were feeling. October 22nd, 1999. Carla June Hochhalter, mother of surviving victim Anne-Marie Hochhalter, went into an Englewood pawn shop, bought a gun and shot herself there in the shop. She had been diagnosed with depression before the shootings, and the stress of having a daughter paralysed by the attack on Columbine pushed her over the edge. October 25th, 1999. Wayne and Kathy Harris, parents of shooter Eric Harris, finally agreed to meet with investigators. November the 12th, 1999. Mark Maines was sentenced to 6 years in prison for selling the Tech DC-9 to Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. January 20th, 2000. Jefferson County School Board voted 4-1 to support a plan to demolish the old library at Columbine and build an atrium in its place. The vote included plans to build a new library. Philip Duran pleaded not guilty to the charges against him. May 4th, 2000. Greg Barnes, a Columbine High student in his junior year and a basketball player for the school team, committed suicide by hanging himself 2 weeks after the first anniversary of the shootings. He was in the school on April 20th, 1999 and escaped without injury, though he saw coach Dave Sanders die and victim Matthew Kester was a close friend of his. His father found Greg's body in the garage at 12:15 p.m. with a CD repeating one song over and over, Adam's Song by Blink-182. He left no note, but it is believed the suicide was prompted by a recent breakup with his girlfriend. His death left his family and fellow students at Columbine stunned. April 19th, 2001. Several of the families of those who were killed or wounded during the shootings reached a settlement of nearly $1.6 million with the parents of the gunmen. October 11th, 2002. Independent filmmaker Michael Moore releases the controversial film Bowling for Columbine, a documentary about gun control in America. November 8th, 2003. Philip Duran was released from an electronic monitoring program and placed on parole. April 17th, 2004. Tom Mauser, father of Daniel Mauser, walked in his son's shoes to the NRA's National Convention in Pittsburgh to challenge Vice President Dick Cheney to discuss extending the assault weapons ban, which would expire in September. April 20th, 2004, the 5th anniversary of the Columbine tragedy. Columbine High School closed completely. People gathered in the evening at the Clement Park Amphitheatre for a candlelight memorial. A fighter jet flew over at 6 p.m. to start the evening. Survivor Anne-Marie Hochhalter gave a speech about moving forward. Steve and John Cohen performed their song Friend of Mine once more, and Dawn Anna, mother of victim Lauren Townsend, spoke on behalf of the families of the victims. The ceremony ended with Principal Frank DeAngelis reading the names of the dead, followed by a moment of silence. The shooters' names were not included in the reading. March 21st, 2005. Jeff Weiss, 16, shot and killed his grandfather and his grandfather's girlfriend. He then drove to school, where he shot a security guard before going on a killing spree inside Red Lake High School. He killed 9 people and injured 7 before killing himself in front of a classroom of terrified students. It was the worst shooting in the USA since Columbine. April 16th, 2007. Lone gunman Cho Seung-hui, a 23-year-old English male from South Korea, went on a shooting spree at Virginia Tech College in Blacksburg, Virginia. He killed 32 people and injured 25 others before taking his own life, making it the deadliest school shooting in US history. A student who lived on campus in one of the dormitories, he was described by those who knew him as a loner. Officials described his method of shooting as brutal and thorough. Nearly everyone he injured or killed took at least 3 shots. In one classroom he attacked, only 4 of 25 students were able to walk out unassisted after the killing spree ended. On homemade videos he made shortly before the shootings, Cho Seung-hui mentioned becoming a martyr like Eric and Dylan. The videos were eerily similar to that of the Columbine shooters in their own videos, right down to the backward baseball cap and posturing with weapons in front of a blank white brick wall. April 12, 2012. Tom Mauser announces his intention to publish his book, Walking in Daniel's Shoes. Its release date was 20th of April 2012. It details the Mausers' experiences from the day of their son's death to what they've dealt with over the years. July 20th, 2012. 24-year-old James Holmes opens fire on an Aurora, Colorado movie theatre during the midnight premiere of The Dark Knight Rises. 12 people are killed. Holmes was arrested outside the theatre. November 2012. Sue Klebold speaks at length for the first time about her son Dylan's role in the shootings, in the book Far from the Tree, Parents, Children and a Search for Identity. December 14th, 2012. Newton, Connecticut. 20-year-old Adam Lanza armed himself with weapons his mother owned and allowed him to use. He shot her 4 times in the head, killing her while she slept. Then he went to Sandy Hook Elementary School and murdered 20 first graders, ages 6 to 7, as well as 6 teachers. He had to shoot his way into the building because the school was locked to outsiders during the day and required buzzing in through security doors, which he blasted out. The sounds of gunfire as he killed faculty members were broadcast over the school's intercom, as they'd been doing morning announcements at the time. He forced his way into the classrooms where he killed children. When the cops showed up, he killed himself. Lanza attended Sandy Hook briefly as a child, and his mother volunteered at the school at some point, but apart from being obsessed with Columbine and rampage shooters in general, there has never been a clear motive for the mass murder. This is a picture of me in the small town of Littleton in Hampshire on a recent visit. Its links with Littleton, Colorado are more than just superficial. In 2021, Jefferson County, the area which houses Littleton, reported 3 murders. This is similar to Hampshire in the same year. Both Littletons are relatively safe, affluent areas with good reputations. Both could easily bear witness to a murder. And of course, in 1999, almost 23 years ago, Littleton, Colorado did. I think it just goes to show how incredibly unpredictable events such as Columbine are, and how preciously we should all value our life. We won't get another one.